3 whole years every week, let's cross over that bit, of releasing a podcast.
To put thoughts together, and I just want to go home.
Having to think is one of the hardest things that you can do.
You sit yourself in front of a camera and lights for 3 hours and talk about self-improvement and things like that. It's tough.
Ryan, the whippersnapper, old man Noya, and in his prime weekend. Inspiration Nation, hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast, as always with Jose Noya and Ryan Felipe Boniface. How are you guys?
Felipe, yeah, not bad.
Just wanted to Spanish it up a bit for both of you, see.
Muy bien, muchas gracias. Muy bien, gracias.
English
Lee?
language podcast, Jay. I don't know if you're aware.
Yeah, just about. I thought you said you wanted me to speak a bit Spanish.
Just add a bit in. I steer the ship here. Don't start throwing me off course.
Well, it wasn't that hard, was it?
It was not. That's very true. As always, we thank everyone for listening and downloading. Catch us on social media at listen2in, listen TOIN. We're, of course, everywhere you can get podcasts and on YouTube as well. Just search for Jose Noya Inspiration Nation. So we are ready for episode 156. And if you are any sort of mathematician, you'll know that 52, which happens to be the number of weeks in a year, multiplied by 3, comes out to 156. So what does that mean, guys?
This is our 4-year anniversary.
Exactly. As Ryan teed us up for last week, it is a 3-year anniversary show. This week, we've been going, when this hits, for exactly 3 years, every week, bar that week where I literally just said there won't be a podcast this week. 3 whole years every week, let's cross over that bit, of releasing a podcast.
I can't lie.
That's so good.
I can't lie. I don't count the gimme week, but I was outvoted by these two, so it is what it is.
Democracy works.
Yeah, democratic voting, Ryan. That's what that is.
How do you feel on this monumental occasion?
I think it's amazing. And it's a bit of a journey, isn't it? It's been a bit of a journey. It's been good. Lots of things have happened, of course, over that journey. In terms of in all our lives, right? We've had a lot of changes in 3 years. You can't believe how much can change in 3 years. And I think we sort of talked about some of the review episodes that we do, the journey updates that we used to do. We don't do many of them anymore. But I think it's good. It's like become a habit now, isn't it? It's become a habit. For sure, it's become a habit. A great habit that I really enjoy and look forward to talk and have some in-depth conversation about things to improve our own lives and that of our listeners and subscriber base. So I think it's great, and I think it's great to have these conversations. That's my view, anyway. But what about you two? About you, Ryan and Lee? What are your thoughts on the 156?
I think I'm proud of us more than anything, because I remember when we first got into this and working with Lee, he agreed, and he'll probably agree with this as well, that he said that he was terrible at maintaining and sticking things out in terms of projects and adventures and things like that. And there aren't many things I've done for every week for 3 years, once a week, every week for 3 years. There aren't many things. There are the things that you do all the time, like drive or have a shower or eat or whatever, but just, out of the ordinary things that you do once a week, every week, I don't think there's anything else that I've ever done. I obviously play pool a lot, but that's not on every week. There are off seasons for that. And, come hell or high water with us, we've made it work, even if we did have a cop-out episode. But I think, 1 in 156 isn't bad, So I think I'm just proud of us of sticking to it and just being kind of true to ourselves. We didn't have a plan when we started this. We didn't have a journey. We didn't think by episode 10 we'd be 1 million subscribers or whatever. We anticipated this would probably be a long burn, but it was just almost a suck it and see moment, if you like, and just kind of see how it goes and where we get to. And even if nobody listens to these ever again, I think for us, we learn more about ourselves every week and improve ourselves, relatively often than we ever would have done without it. I definitely wouldn't be, I don't want to say as successful as I am, because I'm not, but I definitely wouldn't have done some of the things I've done, both personally and professionally, without the support of you two every week. And I'd like to think the same of you two with me, and and whatever way around that works for everybody. But yeah, I think that's kind of fair, and I think we've kind of, for the past, I was trying to work it out. We were at episode, looking at the date, I think we were probably at episode 54, 53, 54 when COVID first struck. So we've completed more episodes of this away from each other than we have with each other.
Significantly more, in fact.
That's mental.
Because I think we went into lockdown like the 20th, 21st, 22nd, around that period of March in the UK. And that, the day we're recording this, is the 8th. So, episode 50, anywhere between 53 and 56, I say, to be safe, was when we stopped recording in person at InspirationNation HQ. And, I'm technically 16 episodes short of 3 years, being on the podcast, because I didn't join till a bit later. But, you guys started it in, was it Joe's dining room?
Yes.
And then,
It was. Yeah.
And then it was at Lee's house, because driving all the way to Joe's from mine was too far. And we met in the middle, and we would record 3 episodes every third Sunday.
That was the plan.
And then we'd go out and we'd release them. And I seem to remember by episode 3, I'd be getting really tired of recording, and
I remember that too.
and thinking, and just kind of having to put thoughts together, and I just want to go home. But that's not a discredit to you guys. It's just it's, you sit yourself in front of a camera and lights for 3 hours and talk about self-improvement and things like that. It's tough. It's tough. But I definitely wouldn't change anything that we've done, because we've only improved ourselves.
That's so good, Ryan. That's really inspiring, actually. Yeah, I think it's really inspiring. So I'm going to pick up a couple of points. I think that whole thing about sticking to things, I think, is really important. I think you're right. How many of us stick to things for 3 years, and continue? And the thing you said about how hard it was to do those 3 hours, that's the whole point, right? Doing hard things. Having to think is one of the hardest things that you can do. People don't think it is, but it is. It's like to put thoughts together. So some great things you picked up from it. And I agree, Ryan. It's really what I've enjoyed about you on the podcast, Ryan, is I've had this perspective from a different generation, and you sort of giving me a perspective of what it's like from your point of view. I think that added a ton of value and made me think differently about approaches I need to take with with what we talk about in the podcast, and actually what I've taken away in my own private life. And the one that sticks out in my mind is the compartmentalization. I think that's what I said. I really took that to heart, because I think that's something I do admire. And of course, there's things that seep through that membrane, but that's something that I think I've really taken away. So yeah, I really appreciate that. So yeah, fantastic, really good reflection there, Ryan. I think definitely the takeaway is sticking with it, even though sometimes it's hard, right? It's difficult. So it's really good, fantastic. Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, I've taken very well, but lovely. What about you, Lee?
I was just thinking, and it's like you said, number one, this is the longest stuck with something. I've even forgot I had that conversation, Ryan, but that's absolutely the case, and look how long gone. And since then, Joe, just silly little things. But I remember you pushing me into using Twitter because I didn't really know what it worked and wasn't interested. I now have, for various reasons, 3 different Twitter accounts on the go. So I've kind of gone to the other end of the spectrum. I can edit videos now. I never did that before. I spun off into doing that little extra podcast we don't like to talk about, Black Felix Financial Podcast. It's still there.
That was good.
Podcast players and on YouTube. Still gets a fair number of downloads a week as well. A little limited series of 14 episodes, and I learned how to video edit and upload to YouTube and do all that sort of stuff I never did before. Met Dylan through that. Met loads of great people through this that I spoke to that I never would have, spoken with or taken on their ideas or anything. Doing video stuff is now second nature to me. During lockdown, I actually led a number of, like, in my family and stuff, and getting people online and doing video things. So I think it has improved confidence. It's helped me different ways. I've learned skills that I never would have learned before. Those are really good little things. I did a bit of meditation. I've taken a cold shower. Loads of very, very good stuff that I never would have known. So, and obviously, you know, there's part of a much wider online community thanks to you pushing me out into the Twitter world as well.
That's really good. Some good reflections there as well.
Lots of good stuff as we built up our journal over these 3 years.
I remember.
Yeah,
I remember the day you hit 1,000 followers on Twitter, because you'd spend God knows how much time just follow.
Learn some good techniques for that as well. I'll write a book on it one day.
Yeah.
Twitter strategy.
And
yeah, I think,
Jose, from you, what have you got to say?
No, I was just going to comment on what you said about, because I know when you were talking, you like new shiny objects, didn't you? Like going from one thing to the next. And, you know, as I say, that common theme of sticking with something. And I think you coined it, this is like a journal. You don't do journaling. This is like your journal. And it really does. It does. It goes through whole things, doesn't it? You know, from the beginning, you know, to now. Gone through a bit of a journey, and from you, Lee, I've learned not to have structure, just to go with it and just to go winging it a little bit. You know, that whole thing about relaxing and just going with free flow. And actually, you know, when I used to write those big notes, didn't I? I remember I used to write pages of notes, and now it's literally a couple of circles, and it would just be thoughts, and then we just let the conversation take its course and actually be really genuine and vulnerable about what we're thinking. And again, you know, the latest thing that's happened to me about my mum passing away, you know, I probably would have structured all that rather than almost letting the natural flow of the emotion come through and talking about it. And actually, thanks to you, both of you, and having this podcast, no, Lee, you know, you really got me going because you researched it, and with Ryan's help, you two sort of got to get us out there. You know, because, you know, I was doing those daily videos, and from those daily videos, you know, this was born. And you approached the subject doing a podcast. I don't think I'd ever thought of it, or I was thinking of it, but I thought, where do you start? And then you said that, and so massively thankful for you, Lee, because you host it all as well on the website. You host it, and of course now on there is episode 2022, I think it is, with my mum, and that's always going to be there forever now, thanks to you. You know, and that's a journey that I'm still going on now. And of course, you know, much love goes out to the people of Ukraine, because we're at this stage where that's happening. So in the space of 3 years, you can see how life has changed in the space of 3 years, and how we've grown with this podcast over just 3 years. So I just want to say thank you to both of you for helping me, you know, because, you know, especially over the last few, months, which has been really difficult, actually. And I'm getting a bit emotional now, because it's been really tough. But you've kept the podcast going. You allowed me to, you know, because I've been pretty uncomfortable with someone hearing some of the stuff I talk about, you know, but you're willing to listen. And I just want to thank you guys. And so, but I've just gained, you know, I know, Lee, we were friends before, but I think it's enhanced our relationship with Ryan. We weren't friends before, and now I've got a new friendship. Well, it's not so new now, right? It's almost 3 years. Well, it's not quite, you know, it's almost 3 years. So, and I think we make a good team, and how we've structured how we've set it all up. You know, so Ryan uploads, sets this whole thing up. Lee, you know, does his sound bites and did the image logo and puts it on Twitter and all that. And I think we've got a good little thing going, and I think it's really good. And it's slowly building momentum. Even now, it's slow, but it's slow burn, like you all said. But the most thing is that we talk and we connect, and that we have these conversations that add value not only to ourselves but our audience. And that's what I love about it. But that's my takeaways, Lee, from this episode 156. It's been a bit of a journey, hasn't it? But yeah,
takeaways early. I like it.
But I can't believe how much has happened in just 3 years, though. Can you guys? You know, everything that's happened over 3 years, the COVID, and now what's going on, Europe, and obviously your mum and everything like that. It shows you how much life, which you think, you say, 3 years, it's not that long. And it doesn't sit, it's not that long, but you think how much changes in that short space of time. I'm just amazed at how much has happened. What your thoughts are on that, guys, but just throwing it out there really on any of your thoughts you might have on that.
In some ways there's lots of similarities, but there's other ways, numerous of them, where I think my life is unrecognisable for what it was just that time ago. And I don't think, because it all changes incrementally, you don't really notice, but when you've got a fixed point you can look back at, it's quite easy to reflect on that.
I think 3 years doesn't feel like a long time in 20 years' time. So we'll look back at COVID, and whilst it will be our war generation where we can nag our grandkids, and maybe your great grandkids in your example, Joe, bless you, but
yeah,
it will be our version of that, right? But it won't. It's by nowhere near. I don't want to compare it to that specifically, but because that was obviously a hell of a lot worse. But that, you know, from a generational standpoint, this is our thing to berate our grandkids about when we were young. And I think 3 years isn't a long time in 20 years' time, but right now I feel like I will have lost a third of my 20s, you know, and that's quite important to a lot of people, you know. To me, I don't particularly care either way, but again, maybe in 20 years' time I will, because, you know, I'll have lost essentially 3 years. And I don't like using the word lost, because I've not lost them. Like I've not disappeared like in the Marvel films or whatever. But, you know, so much stopped. And I consider myself quite lucky with things that I have achieved in that 3 year period, because there's a lot of it that should never have happened, because everything just froze. And there are a lot of people that were a lot worse off during that, you know, that 2 year period, especially of COVID, that were a lot worse off than kind of we all were. And there will be people that are a lot better off than what we all were as a result of it. There are winners and losers in life day in, day out, and I accept that. But I feel the last 2 years there have been a lot more losers than there have been in normal circumstances. So, yeah.
Yeah. Some really good insights there, because I know, you know, I mean, there were points you were struggling. You know, you got into promotion throughout this, haven't you? You sort of gone
twice.
For a bit of,
I got promoted. I got promoted twice in COVID to the same job twice, because Lee demoted me once as well. But we don't talk about it. No,
we don't talk about that.
I'm only teasing. You know, life goes on. You know, and that was something that was always bestowed in me, and I trusted the process, which is what, you know, people are told to do. And if they have people that they trust that look out for them and do right by them, and you can believe that person, then that's the important part of it, right? Like, you know, I joke with Lee there that he demoted me. He didn't. That's a complete lie. But you know, I like to pick on him sometimes. But you know, I got a lot of advice from him at the time, and from my boss at the time, who told me just to kind of stick it out and trust the process. And here we are. I've been back in. I'm about 2 years in total now. I remember when we first started the podcast, it was the biggest, most important thing to me. And now it's just what I do.
Incredible, right? And the other thing was that you're talking about, you know, your own financial situation and how that's improving, isn't it? You were talking about that not long ago.
Slowly, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things I've got to rely on, and a lot of moving parts. But, you know, I mean, I don't know how much I spoke about when I did speak about it, but you know, by the time I turn 27, which is in 4.5 months' time, I should, in theory, be debt free. And, you know, 3-4 months ago, I had £7,000-8,000 to pay. So at least, so I've kind of put myself through the ringer, taken advantage in a way of something that I should have done. Well, actually, no, because that's not fair. There's a lot of moving parts that I probably don't really want to get into, but at the earliest opportunity, I think that was fair for me to be able to kind of put full flooded effort into this. I have done. And, you know, if this, and this is what I say by, I mean, some people are winners, some people are losers, right? And some people get lucky. If COVID had happened 6 years ago when I was, you know, in my really early 20s and I didn't really care about anything so much, there's no way that I'd be trying to fix my financial situation. It'd be getting worse. But the fact that I can't go out and do stuff means that I do have, as a lucky person with no responsibilities, you know, excess money that I can use to put towards solving that problem. And as I say, fingers crossed, the moving parts move in my direction the way that they should. And yeah.
Fantastic. It's all going well.
Yeah.
So it's really good work with that. You touched on something, so I was only going to mention it briefly because it'll be from me next week. But my subject I've got in mind kind of touches on that 3 years of your life statement you made, Ryan, and how it might not seem so significant in the future. That's kind of going to be the theme for next week, which I hope will be quite interesting. And it relies on what you said, Joe, is a bit of a cross-generational
perspective.
Viewpoint, you know?
Yeah.
Ryan, the whippersnapper, old man Noya, and in his prime Lee Kemp. I think is a fair way of assessing.
I'm starting to leave whippersnapper and enter prime. I think. I'm in a bit.
That means
I'll be mid to late 20s in 4.5 months' time, and I may as well put me in a retirement home now.
So no. If you're coming to prime, Ryan, that means Lee must be moving over to a different.
Anyway, this is for next week, guys. We don't want to talk too much about it now.
Oh, I love that. It was so funny. I think you led the way into that, though. You led
yeah, but then I realised it was going into a dark corner, so I backed myself out of it again.
Oh no, but I just think, Ryan, you need to give yourself a bit more credit as well, because I know you said all these moving parts, but you cracked the discipline to do it. You could have still made the decision not to do things. So I think there should be a bit more credit given to yourself.
I'll give myself credit when it's done.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
When it's done. Until then, I'm technically still no better off than where I was in a formal sense. I'm still no better off than where I was 6-7 months ago. Like if you read between the lines and you kind of look at the detail, that obviously I am, but formally speaking, I'm still in the same position I was, and I'm just closer to the end than where I was. And once I'm out the other side of that tunnel, if you want to use that analogy, then that's when you know, I can be a bit more celebratory about how everything is.
Yeah, and it's maintaining and improving, isn't it? It's all about that. It's about maintaining. So it's great. No, yeah. I honestly want to give you more credit, because you could have just not done it. You decided to, and you made the effort, and it's done, and you're doing it. And I say, when you get to the end, you can celebrate. Once you celebrate, it's that whole maintaining and moving on, isn't it? Fantastic. Yeah. Oh, I love that. What a journey! Like, I mean, there's been some journeys for all of us, isn't there? And yeah, I just and again, anyone listening to this, and Lee, I'm probably stealing a bit of Lee's thunder here, is that, you know, you can take a lot of lessons from, you know, our personal journeys, and that's what we do. We're all about, it's all the everyday challenges. And I've always said before, it's not about oh, we've got to swim 30 miles, you know, climb 100,000 meter mountain or whatever. That's a bit mad. It's all about dealing with those daily challenges that lead to the longer term effects of how you can improve your own circumstances. And of course, not being dictated by your circumstances, making choices that help you in the long run. And of course, you're not always going to get it right. And I think, you know, we've not all got it right, and we've had our fingers burnt on 2 occasions. And, you know, Ryan's been really honest about what, you know, he's been, and, you know, Lee has as well. I have been in my, you know, my depression when I in episode 1, I talked about depression and those challenges and things you have to change, and how from that to how life can just punch you in the face, which Lee designed a t-shirt on, but it's how you respond to those punches in the faces. Punches? Yeah, punch in the face.
InspirationNation.org.uk for the t-shirt.
There you go. And how you come back from that, and how you keep pushing on. And yeah, I've definitely felt like I've been punched in the face a couple of times throughout the podcast. And it's just about how we just respond in the minute. You know, at the minute, that's what I'm. You know, I'm feeling I'm getting up, and that's what I want everyone here. And whoever's going for a tough time now with everything that's going on in the world or personally, you know, our hearts and thoughts are totally with you. So yeah, I just want to sort of send love and light out there to our subscribers, listeners, whatever platform you're watching on.
So I think, Joe, we talked about before we went on air. I don't think we're going to get to your subject. You've got that in the bag for another week. It's been a good retrospective on 3 years. So I just want to, again, people listening, been on a journey with us. I know through looking, I've referenced this a few weeks now, there's a lot of a lot of listeners out there who are trawling through the archives, listening to older episodes. We again appreciate everyone doing that. Let us know on social media what you like. We really appreciate that feedback. But over the past 3 years, bear in mind we started this show and we said if just one person listens and takes something from it, that's good. Well, one person has listened, and then thousands and thousands and thousands of other people have listened as well. So every single one listening now who's listened in the past, future listeners who's listening to this in 5 years' time, we thank you all for this. But we have been downloaded thousands of times all across Europe, not just in England, not just in the United Kingdom, across all of Europe, thousands and thousands of times across North America, Canada, America, Mexico, Asia, Australia, Africa, even had 8 downloads in South America. So excluding Antarctica, we have been downloaded on every single continent of the world over the past 3 years.
Wow. Wow.
And that's just Lee flying to all the different continents.
Got to get those stats up somehow. Which I think is just incredible.
I love that.
You know, it's a great.
From where it started,
again,
right?
We appreciate everyone out there.
Yeah, brilliant. No, from just like having that idea of, okay, you know, you should, Lee, you know, should we do a podcast? Boom, and that's what's happened. Fantastic. I just, can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's so good.
Kingdom, France, Australia, Canada, Austria, Mexico, Philippines, Italy, Norway, Egypt, Chile, Zimbabwe, Denmark, just to name a few. It's great places for people, which again is just, if you'd have said when we started this that would be the reach, it's quite incredible. I think people listen to us everywhere. Apple Podcasts in their web browser, Google Podcasts, Amazon Echo. You could talk to your Echo and get us in your ear. What more could you want? Half of you out there listening on your mobile.
I've actually done that.
As you're traveling.
Yeah, my daughter's done the Google, and I say, "Oh, Google, play Inspiration Nation," and then it plays an episode. It's so funny. It's so good. It's so good. Can't get better than that.
In fact, 12%, Joe, of all our downloads have been through Amazon smart speakers. Thank you.
We're in people's homes.
So lots of that, again, everyone out there, we really appreciate it. Hopefully it gives, as we try to do, an inspirational message for people. It's, you know, tracking our lives as we go. If nothing else, it's beneficial for us, but hopefully it gives a good bit of inspiration along the way with everything that we talk about.
Everyday stuff that we'll get through, right? Everyday stuff.
We'll be talking about the 6-year one before we know it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. You think about that, isn't it? But yeah, this is not going to stop. We're here.
I'll be somewhere in my late 30s. Joe will be about 70, but we'll still be going.
I just wanted to say, actually, you know, all the different guests we've had as well on the show, like you said about Dylan. We've had a good few. Go catch those in the podcast. Is it Live at Angela? We've had Simon Squibb. We've had Mark Drager. We've had other entrepreneurs on. Maybe it's due for another one. I think I've got some that I could potentially do soon. So maybe get some more on as well, which would be good. Yeah, Freedom Stalker actually designed a T-shirt for Inspiration Nation. I should have worn that today. So that was great. I have to get that out and wear that on the podcast again. But there you go. No, yeah, I just think you just triggered a load of stuff. It's fantastic. Yeah, brilliantly. Thank you, both of you. Again, I appreciate both of you. Much love to both of you.
Final bit, which again doesn't exist, head over inspirationnation.org.uk, coaching service there. Me and Joe made a brilliant video over there. Details of Joe's newsletter, that was going way before we even started. And of course, the Inspiration Nation merchandise store. I also learned about all that stuff, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, etc., etc. I think I've got a mug for a mugshot here. These new items being added when we find good quotes. As Joe said, there's a recent one about a punch in the face. Made a t-shirt, made a hoodie as well, Joe. I've got one winging its way here to the house, in fact, that I will be modelling in a few weeks' time.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. I love that.
It's your phrase, Joe, or your word. My beloved was like, oh, I like that. Can you make me a hoodie? So we did, and it's on its way, and they're going to go out and model Inspiration Nation in the streets, which is what we want.
Fantastic. I love it. That's a great wrap-up, Lee. Great wrap-up, mate. Great.
That's good. So thank you everyone for indulging us in this retrospective on ourselves at its 3-year anniversary. Even more so, thank you for listening, supporting the nation, supporting what we do. Again, if you like it, best thing you can do, word of mouth is how we grow. Tell friends, tell family, leave us a review. Anything that gets that message out there, we hugely appreciate it. And of course, check us out at Listen to IN, Listen to OIN. Leave us some messages. We love to hear from you. And of course, just look for Joe. Jose Noya, InspirationNation, stick it in your Google machine and you will get more Joe, more hours of Joe than anyone can handle. And to be honest, more than an hour is quite enough. So there's a lot of it out there.
Thanks, Lee. I love it.
You're very welcome. Right, all that's left to do then, I think, is count us down for this week and we'll be back next week. 3, 2, 1. InspirationNation.
InspirationNation.
Catch you guys later.
Catch you guys later. So I want to know now, what's your biggest takeaway? Don't forget to hashtag it with InspirationNation in the comments below and make sure you commit to action. Right, thank you for checking it out. So don't forget you can catch all our other Inspiration Nation podcast episodes right over here. So go check them out. And also don't forget to subscribe because that will tell you when your next video goes live by you hitting that amazing bell. So until next time, it's Inspiration Nation and I'll see you right over there.